सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परम ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। ओम निधये सर्वविद्यानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां गुरवे सर्वलोकानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम यैरिमे गुरुवे पूर्वं पदवाक्यप्रमाणतः व्याख्याताः सर्ववेदान्ताः तान् नित्यं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। ओम श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। ओम विदिताखिलशास्त्रसुधा जलधे महितोपनिषत्कथितार्थनिधे हृदये कलये विमलं चरणं भव शङ्करदेशिकमे शरणम्। ओम अथ समस्त ब्रह्मविद्याचार्येभ्यो नमः ऋषिभ्यो नमः मुनिभ्यो नमः गुरुभ्यो नमः परब्रह्मणे नमः। ओम मंडूकमहर्षये नमः। ओम श्री गौडपादाचार्यवर्याय नमः। ओम श्री आद्यशंकर सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम अथ अथर्ववेदान्तर्गत माण्डूक्य उपनिषद। ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः सुष्ठुभागं सस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम ओमित्येतदक्षरमिदगं सर्वं तस्योपव्याख्यानं भूतं भवद्भविष्यत् इति सर्वमोङ्कार एव। यच्चान्यत्रिकालातीतं तदप्योङ्कार एव। सर्वं हि एतद् ब्रह्म अयमात्मा ब्रह्म सोऽयमात्मा चतुष्पात् जागरितस्थानः बहिष्प्रज्ञः सप्ताङ्गः एकोनविंशतिमुखः स्थूलभुक् वैश्वानरः प्रथमपादः स्वप्नस्थानः अन्तःप्रज्ञः सप्ताङ्गः एकोनविंशतिमुखः प्रविविक्तभुक् तैजसः द्वितीयपादः। यत्र सुप्तो न कञ्चन कामं कामयते न कञ्चन स्वप्नं पश्यति तत्सुषुप्तं सुषुप्तस्थानः एकीभूतः प्रज्ञानगण एव आनन्दमयो हि आनन्दभुक् चेतोमुखः प्राज्ञः तृतीयपादः। एष सर्वेश्वरः एष सर्वज्ञः एषोऽन्तर्यामी एष योनिः सर्वस्य प्रभवाप्ययौ हि भूतानां नान्तः प्रज्ञं न बहिष्प्रज्ञं नोभयत प्रज्ञं न प्रज्ञानगणं न प्रज्ञं न प्रज्ञम् अदृष्टम् अव्यवहार्यमग्राह्यमलक्षणम् अचिन्त्यम् अव्यपदेश्यम् एकात्म प्रत्ययसारं प्रपञ्चोपशमं शान्तं शिवम् अद्वैतं चतुर्थं मन्यन्ते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः। सोऽयमात्मा अधि अक्षरम् ओङ्कारः अधिमात्रं पादामात्राः मात्राश्च पादाः अकार उकारो मकार इति जागरितस्थानः वैश्वानरः अकारः प्रथमा मात्रा आप्तेः आदिमत्वाद्वा आप्नोति ह वै सर्वान् कामान् आदिश्च भवति। स्वप्नस्थानः तैजसः उकारः द्वितीया मात्रा उत्कर्षात् उभयत्वाद्वा उत्कर्षति ह वै ज्ञानसन्दधिं समानश्च भवति न अस्य ब्रह्मवित् कुले भवति। य एवं वेद सुषुप्तस्थानः प्राज्ञः मकारः तृतीया मात्रा मितेः अपीतेः वा मिनोति ह वा इदगं सर्वम् अपीतिश्च भवति। य एवं वेद अमात्रः चतुर्थः अव्यवहार्यः प्रपञ्चोपशमः शिवः अद्वैतः एवं ओङ्कारः आत्मा एव संविशति आत्मना आत्मानं एवं वेद य एवं वेद। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Saluting to the Lord, entire Guru Parampara. In this way, we are helping ourselves by remembering the truth in the very early morning of every day. The Parayanam of these Shruti mantras, Veda mantra, Upanishad mantra regularly itself not only creates those samskaras, but they being so powerful, they, they are the renditions of the rishis of the yore from time immemorial. They inherently have the capacity to set in ourselves both the jignasa for the truth as well as the inquiry slowly. And then these mantras so powerful, embedded within themselves, the truth, the reality. In fact, with all the other non-qualifications otherwise, but the regular chanting of them slowly makes us qualified. I believe in the possibility that the required amount of viveka, vairagya, withdrawal from the world, and the jignasa to contemplate on the truth, along with the understanding that why we should contemplate on truth, why we have to be spiritual, why should we study Shastra, why should we know the truth. All these things are pakka answered from within by the grace of Rishi Parambara if we can abide to this type of chanting as well as audition of our Shastras. Then there not only is seen the purpose of life, but we reach that purpose and we fulfill ourselves also. Till that grace of Guru Rishi come on us, we are always confused as to where to go and what to do. And when we are not that way focused on what to do to reach where, in the present we'll always be confused with. Rather, we only take up something wrong, which binds us, which one day we have to give up. On the other hand, with the grace of Shastra Guru, if I know this is my goal, if I know this is my path, and I am walking on that path, I am not distracted, I am not disturbed, I am not tempted, I am not threatened, I am not frightened. I am pakka as to where to go and what is the path. So, no doubt at all. So, these Shastra Shravanam Ityadi slowly gives us that. So, in fact, what is the goal? Goal is to discover the universal truth as our own self, lifting ourselves to that identity or that experience. Whether you call it as Mukti, Moksha, Brahmatmaikya Bodha, whether you call it as Atma Jnana, Brahma Jnana, Enlightenment, Nirvana, पद कितने भी हो सकते हैं बट अनुभव is what I am saying gross. Beyond that, what subtle is there, I have to discover it as myself, so that all the world of multiplicity no more bothers or troubles me. Rather, I am not troubling them or I am not troubled by them. And the sadhana is mananam chintanam dhyanam. Mananam chintanam dhyanam. Manana Chintana has two qualifications. One is the purification, second is the sufficient data. Purification is done through Viveka Vairagya Shamadamadi, data is gained through this Shravana. Then Mananam Chintanam, Mananam Chintanam. In that sadhana, we will see that truth which is beyond the entire world. All gurus in all Upanishads are inspiring us only in this direction. We are in Mandukya Upanishad now, the ALAATHA Shanti towards the end. Here almost subject is given by Guru, received by disciple, but one or two final touches are being given. So the first thing was, is that Atma is Gneya Vastu like any other Gneya Vastu. Then there is Jnata Gneyam, differentiation is there. Therefore the Advaita is refuted. For that question, objection of the Purvapakshi, Siddhanti, the Guru Maharaj said, no, no, no. Adi Buddhaha Prakrutyaiva Sarve Dharmaha Sunishchitaha. Very clearly it is said, all these beings means the self in all of us is Prakrutyaiva Adi Buddhaha. By nature, we are ever eternally awakened only. We are not the Gneya Vastu, we are the Jnanam. And Sunishchita, Sushtu Nishchita. We are that. That already. Then transcending your doubt that the Atma is Gneya Vastu, then I have to know it. When you or anybody like you come to this stage, they are called as Amrutatvaya Kalpate. Yasya evam bhavati kshanti. Listen carefully. The one whose antakarana fully settles with no more questions or doubts, even the necessities to inquire in the experience that I am eternally awakened pure self. It is not I am the jiva trying to know this self, rather, it is me, the conscious self, in whose light and presence so far the jiva was enlivened and was allowed to identify with upadhi and went on, allowed to go on playing the play. This way, yasya evam bhavati kshanti. And this conscious self of me is conscious, eternal, unborn, undying, unchanging, non dual self in me. Is so not to prove itself, is so not to prove to the world, it is so not to do any favor to the world. There is no world. So all these things are dropped. What is there is just the experience. What example given to us is Nitya Prakasha Swarupaha is the Swabhava of Bhagwan Surya. Remember these words Nitya Prakasha Swarupaha, we are Nitya Bodha Swarupaha. Right now, what is position? I am Dehendra Manobuddhyadi Upadhi Kruta Jiva. Trying to know my own essential nature. This is what in all classes all gurus talk to all disciples. But at the final stages, we have to shift from this identity to that identity. Without shifting so, we continue to remain only as Jiva, trying to pursue the Atma. It will never give you the Jiva Bhava. It will never give you the Atma Bhava. We have to drop this and identify with that. Here, the question of the disciple that means the Atma is Ignayavast is utilized by the Guru to give such a reply or the answer, which is the final next and final sadhana. What did he question? That means the Gnayavastu hai Atma bhi. This is a question. Good question actually. Sometimes the great answers from the Gurus come because of the great questions of the disciples. Therefore, the disciple also is not ordinary. From him, because of the genuine, beautiful question, the Guru's Jnanam could express outside. So, from this question, Jnaya hai par Atma bhi, then he gave the answer. He is such a Jnana Sarupa, the self. By nature, Swabhavataha, like Bhagavan Surya is Prakasha Swarupa. And it is eternally so. Now, with the knowledge of Shastra, not only got conviction, now shift to the left, next and final stage. That now identify with that. Get divorced from your Jiva Bhava, the one who was doing sadhana so far. All the sadhana so far also is to bring you to this conviction that you are this Atma Vastu, in whose light everything is enlivened or enlightened. You are Adi Buddha. You are by Prakriti Adi Buddha. There is no doubt about it. There is no Sunishchita. It was eternally so. It is not a made up. It is not even covered. All that covering of the Atma by Panchakosha, all by Maya, they are all prakriyas to tell you. It can never be covered. What can cover it? It is such a far off distant thing, or it is such a sublime subtle thing. Can a cloud cover the sun or moon? It cannot. So what means here at this final point? Even the importance given to the upadhi as it is existing also is an obstruction to the self experience. Therefore, at this final stage, even that upadhi also we have to give up. That the self is known, I am the knower. No, you are the self. You are the conscious self. This is the thought maintained. This is called Akhanda Akara Vritti. Akhanda Brahma Akara Vritti. I am the Brahman. I am the Atman. That is maintained. That's maintained. In the heat of that Akhanda Brahmakara Vritti, all the other vrittis, all the possibilities of other vrittis get weakened or dissolved. Like I'll speak truth. When I hold on to this principle, all the possibilities, tendencies to speak untruth, they bombard me for some time. But when I hold on to the principle, I'll not lie or I'll speak only truth. Slowly they fizzle away. They get weakened. They go away. In the same way, I am Adi Buddha. I am the conscious self. When that is strongly, deeply maintained, all the tendencies of I am not the self, I am the jiva, I have to struggle, I have to know the self, they all get fizzled away. And the miracle happens there. What miracle happens? That vritti also goes away. Then vritti rahita aham brahmasmi is just revealed or realized or experienced. This is what one has to do on the seat of meditation. Through study, shravana, manana, nididhyasana, doubts are removed and sufficient conviction is gained. At the same time, through Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, entire impurities of the heart are removed of Kama, Krodha, Adi, Raga, Dveshadi. That also very essential. In fact, without that, this won't happen. Without the Antakarna Shuddhi, neither Siddhanta is understood, nor the effort on the meditation can be made, nor the result of it, discovery of the self. It will never happen. Therefore, that is necessary and possible thing. We can achieve it. Keep away from everything for 1 year, then look back and see that I could be away from everything. Therefore, to be without the thing, it is impossible. It is a wrong notion. I can be. Such is the Maya. When you look at the thing, you feel like I can't be without that. If you don't look at it, it is there in its own place. You are in your own place. That Maya we have to conquer. The Maya that I can't be without the world. World is required to me. World means everything. Things and beings and involvements, indulgences, experiences. Whether gross, whether psychological. वो जरूरी है ये भावना ही हमको फंसाता है. छोड़कर देखो कितने जरूरी है. पता चलता है कि नहीं है जरूर. Like morning sleep is so important. That's how we think. But when you start getting up and attending the class, we realize it's not so important. It can be conquered. We can be without it. In the same way, the power of Maya or the mind or the world, which makes us feel that we can't be without the world, therefore we can't be spiritual. By practice, we can withdraw. That's the essential quality. Then only the study and the understanding of the Shastra, then Manana Chintana on those principles, then this last stage, that Adi Buddha, Prakrutyaiva, Sarve Dharma, Sunishchita, that will come. Now, one or two things here. When it is said, ki Savita is Prakasha Swarupa, not to prove it to itself, nor to maintain itself, not to gain anything for itself by being so. Then naturally it is Prakasha Swarupa. So too, the Prakasha Swarupa of the Surya is not to illuminate the world, to help the world, to serve the world. Then it is naturally so. You understand? It is naturally so. Why is it to be said? Because in that Prakashatva of the Surya, any Karana, any Uddeshya, okay, any purpose, if it is there, it becomes samsara. Is it not? If the sun is a light to illuminate the world, then he becomes the karta of the illumination. Once he becomes karta, then he'll become bhokta also. Then he is a samsari. Then he can never be at peace. Is it not? So Surya Bhagwan ke light mein entire dunya may be getting all power, energy, urja. That is from this side. But from sun's side, he is not the karta of giver of the light or heat. Is it not? Also, he is not doing that. for his own some expression or expression of his greatness or grandness or glory. ऐसा नहीं है. Be attentive there. It is his Swarupa Prakasha is. Same way, my Swarupa is Bodha, Adi Bodha. This Bodha of mine is effortless, purposeless. Purpose of oneself, purpose for others. Others here are our own Panchakoshas. आत्म चैतन्य ये पंचकोशों को अपने अपने शक्तियां प्रदान कर रहा है. That was a sentence earlier to bring our attention to the Atma Vastu, in which we proved the Panchakoshas are not independent, they are dependent. Okay, to get rid of the Panchakosha, we say all that empowerment for these Panchakoshas is done by Paramatma. His presence, Buddhi started contemplating, thinking, Mana started having its emotions, Indriyas are perceiving, the body is moving, all of them are happening because of the Lord, because of the self. That is a fact also. For from the standpoint of these. Why? Because these upadhis are jada, they can't do anything by their own. That's why a dead man. There is no Chaitanya Paramatma expressing, therefore all the mana, indriya, buddhi, sharira, सब स्थगित हो जाते हैं. Is it? This portion of sadhana is to give up the independency or reality given to the upadhi. Then, in that practice, what is strengthened in us? It is Paramatma's grace or the presence of conscious self that these are working, they are not independent. So, attention is more and more on the conscious present, Paramatma. But once this is achieved at the next stage, just to be established in that Ekameva Advayam Brahma, which is truth, its contribution to these upadhis actively also is withdrawn. How to do that? He is not an active contributor. Then by nature is Prakasha Swarupa, Bodha Swarupa. That's it. Don't attribute any doership into that. Don't attribute any purpose to that. In other words, the self is conscious self without any doership in that, without any purpose in that. It is so. I am, that means that. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. For what purpose? For there is no purpose in that. Being so is itself fulfillment in that. Why should he have any purpose? First of all, in the experience of the self, there is no not self at all. Sub dissolve ho jata. Second is, purpose is for a limited thing to reach unlimited or infinite. Is it not? Now this Bodha Swarupa is already infinite. Then what is the purpose for it? Feel this meaning. I am the infinite self, therefore I don't have purpose like any finite selves have. It is one thought when we understand. I am infinite, I have no purpose. All the struggles, efforts in the mind go away. This is a pure, ultimate Advaita Vedantic sadhana we are talking, which is not digestible by anybody other than pure Advaita. Because everybody else is an ego wanting to achieve something, noble or ignoble. Therefore, always they are involved in some purpose. Actually, from the highest level of spiritual standpoint, the only sadhana is live purposelessly. Because any purpose belongs to jiva, limited jiva. If you entertain purpose, you continue as jiva only. In infinite Paramatma, there is no purpose. Like why the infinite ocean is waving so many waves. Waves appear to have a purpose of reaching the shores. Therefore, they are running. There is no purpose in the infinite ocean for its presence, for its waves. It is like that, a fulfillment है उसमें. That's why rivers run to the ocean. Ocean never runs anywhere. So the Jiva Bhava has to discover self. But for the self standpoint, it has nothing to do. It's so. So I am a purposeless fellow, goalless fellow, I will do nothing. At the Chiva and Upadhi level, that is a crime. This is wrong. That is a laziness. Such person is a liability to the society. So, for this person, this is not applicable. He'll have to serve the world, he'll have to earn his food, he'll have to do service to Guru and Shastra and Bhagwan, he'll have to do lot of listening of Shastra, वो सब उनके लिए. But at the final stages, we are saying, as all our antakarna becomes purified, freed from all raga, desha, kama, krodha, and our whatever debts are there, obligations are there, we have fulfilled with the world. Then we have to experience our Atma Paramatma Tattva. As we grow into higher and deeper level, slowly the purposeness has to be dropped. Like, why do we do this satsang? At one level, we say to become very pakka in the Shastra Jnanam, which is indicating truth only, and also to help the audience, also to see that such spiritual vibrations are set out, and also to clear our runa to the rishis, is it not? And also to maintain this Sanatana Dharma. So many purposes are given to it. All of them are true. Okay. But with those things as purpose, I am convinced, I am committed to do them. But that puts me or keeps me as a doer. So I am the doer of these things for these purposes. That's a samsara. Later on, what will happen? The thing is happening. I am removing the purpose, and my doership is gone. So the thing is happening. I am dropping the purpose. My doer is going away. When I am dropping the purpose, interesting point is what? Purpose goes on achieved only, but I don't claim it. I don't put my like. Surya has no purpose of illuminating the world. Doesn't mean that the world is not illumined. It is automatic. But in the Surya, that purposelessness has removed the ego, because ego and purpose go together. As long as ego is there, he'll have a purpose. As long as there's a purpose, there is an ego. Wherever the ego has a purpose, then it will struggle. Then the struggle is not nature. And then trying to fulfill the purpose becomes a conditioning. Is it not? Then always fears will come, doubts will come. Will I be able to do it or not, achieve it or not? ये सब संसार है. जो हो रहा है वो हो रहा है. उस जो हो रहा है उसमें कौन संसार निर्माण कर रहे हैं? These thoughts only. So I am the purposeless, pure, conscious existence. That's the real realization. Like Puja Gurudev started this huge organization. With what purpose? For you and I will give an answer for teaching Shastras and all. But from the absolute standpoint, there is no purpose. It just is happening. In the same way, Adi Buddha, Prakrutiyaiva, सर्वे धर्मा सुनिश्चिता यस्य एवं भवति क्षांति. The one who has come to this level of absolute quietness, quietening of giving a purpose, quietening of identifying with a personality which is pursuing that purpose, when all that is dropped, amrutattvaya kalpate. That example of Surya, again and again contemplate. Now, little in the same way, all the phenomenal forces, from our standpoint, they are contributing so much. But from their standpoint, they are not the contributors. It is their nature. You understand? The rivers flowing is not a purpose. It's nature. Is it not? The winds blowing. It's not a purpose. It's a nature. The Prithvi is supporting all of us. It is from our side we say it is supporting, but from its side, it's being solid and stable is its nature. That's it. As a byproduct, it is helping us. From its standpoint, there is no purpose. They're just beings like that. That's how they are able to support. अंडरस्टैंड द हाईएस्ट लेवल में ना कोई पर्पस नहीं होता है. That's what he said, you know. Sarve dharmaha, what he said yesterday, yasya mumukshoho evam yatokta prakarena sarvada bodha nischaya nirapekshata atmartham parartham va yatha savita nityam prakashantara nirapekshaha. Nityam prakasha, but there is no apeksha for being the prakasha sarupa. There is apeksha for swartham or parartham cha. Iti evam bhavati. I am pure consciousness, not to illuminate the upadhis, not to know the world. I am that, that's it. That is the meaning of Kevaloham, Shivoham. That is a great book written by somebody, no? I am that, I am. I am that, and I am that. That's it. There's no purpose. Purpose is only for those who are limited, conditioned. Is it not? Interesting. One little short, subtle thought. Any limited fellow will have a purpose. Then he'll have to put effort. The converse thing is what? As long as he is having effort and having purpose and putting effort, he continues to be conditioned, limited only. That's called Maya. Then what is to be done? And that is a lot of Jiva. जीवा उपाधियों से तादात्म्यता से अपने आप को हमेशा लिमिटेड ही मानना ही पड़ेगा उसको, बिकॉज उपाधिज आर लिमिटेड. देन he'll definitely will have the purposes to maintain upadhi or to get the sukha through the upadhi. Then he'll have to do something. And the more he is doing that, the more he is strengthening his upadhi and his jiva bhava, that is limitation, being limited. That's how samsara continues. Therefore, in the worldly purpose, we give spiritual purpose. In the spiritual purpose also, the purpose of ultimate truth. And taking the ultimate truth as the purpose, we do Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. At that Manana Nididhyasana level, the truth's understanding is it is infinite conscious self. At that moment, till that, when we reach to that moment, that being our own self already, therefore the purposeness has to be dropped there. The moment the purposeness is dropped, remember, the finitude goes away. Either you do that or I am that conscious infinite self. Into that, when we enter into being conscious infinite, there is no purpose. Then I am no more a jiva. You are just like that. We are the self. I am the being. That's it. There's no need to become something by doing something. This is not Adi Buddha. Is it? More and more contemplation. More and more when we go deeply, then these things start happening to us, revealing to us. So far from so many millions of life, I was struggling, not because it was required, but because I thought I was a limited entity. No, all the struggles are stopped or dropped because I am that. That's when akartaham, abhoktaham, ahamevaham, avyaha. These all texts we are going to study, of course, in Telugu, in our Shankara Stotrams, some other time, if possible, in this. But in English, when you are studying Upanishad, this is ultimate literature. So, Adi Buddhaha, Prakrutaiva, Sarve Dharmaha, Sunishchidaha. Therefore, they being eternally conscious self, self is not necessarily be the object or the Gneya Vastu. So, that point is answered. While answering so, he is also pushing into that experience of infinite dude, which has no purpose for himself or anybody, or is made to drop the purposes for himself or anybody, then he just remains as conscious self. In fact, at that infinite consciousness level, where are the upadhis to be illumined by him? है कि नहीं? मनोबुद्धि है तो उनसे काम कराएंगे अब. उनकी अस्तित्व ही नहीं है, क्योंकि उनके अंदर जो कॉन्शियस सेल्फ है उसी को हमने आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया ना. द नॉट नोइंग ऑफ कॉन्शियस सेल्फ गेव राइज टू द मन बुद्धि आदि उपाधि. When the self is realized, मन बुद्धि उपाधि है ही नहीं. Therefore उनको इल्यूमिनेट करना है, उनको स्ट्रेंथन करना है, ये वो चांस ही नहीं होता. But even after knowing the truth, when the equipments are functional in his presence, at that time it is said, it is not his purpose, it is their purpose. His purpose is no purpose, he is just being the self. This is the meaning of Adi Buddha mantra. Now, तथा न अपि शांति कर्तव्यता आत्मनीति आह. Just like the bodha is natural, adi bodha, so too the shanti or freedom from all bondages, in other words, called as mukti, that which was said sa amrutatvaya kalpate. The amrutatvaya kalpate means he becomes qualified, fit for experiencing or gaining the amrutatva. That is the meaning of that sentence, which inherently has a potency tendency to create a question. Means he is not Amruta, that means earlier that he is becoming Amruta now. Amrutatvaya kalpate. That is a sentence. Kalpate means becomes qualified for. He becomes qualified for or capable of becoming liberated. That means the self is bound at some time. And bondage is with something else. Only when two things are there, one to get bound, second to bind it, then there is a bondage. क्योंकि सेल्फ अपने आप को कभी बाइंड तो करता नहीं, और कोई है वही बंधन में डालता है. सो दो चीजें हो गए, फिर द्वैत आ गए. व्हेन यू से ही इज अमृतत्वाय कल्पते मोक्षाय समर्थः भवति, सो ही इज नॉट मुक्त मीन्स ही वाज ए बद्ध. So at the Baddha sthiti, there is somebody to bind him. There Dvandva are there. Vedanta has to say at no period of time or situation there is Dvaita. Everything is Advaita. Dvaitin tries to pull Vedanta into his level of Dvaita, either in some Desha or Kala or Vastu or Paristhiti. Such question he'll ask. And why the question arises in the Purva Pakshi when the Siddhanta is answering? Because Siddhanta, when he answers, he'll have to use the vocabulary or examples of Dvaita only. Because of two reasons. That is the only way it can be explained. And second is, the audience are at that level. देखो गुरु आत्मा अनुभव में है, अब उनको ज्ञान देना है तो द्वैत में आना ही पड़ेगा ना. देन ओनली ही इज ए डिसाइपल टू whom he is teaching. The moment he teaches to disciple, immediately disciple says, you are teaching me, so you are other than me, so there is a dvaita. This is his conditioning. What Guru says, bhai, this is to facilitate you. It doesn't mean that Advaita is compromised with. In the same way, Amrutatvaya Kalpate is an inspiration given from our side to you who is caught up in the Jiva Bhava. That this way you reach, do sadhana, you reach Amrutattva. It doesn't mean that the self is not Amruta. कि अब उसको अमृत बना रहे. So actually, if you really analyze last 25 minutes what we are listening, it's only removing the notion that I am Mrita Swarupa Jiva Arupadhi. That is called realization. Realization is removal of the notion. Realization is not realizing the infinite self, because it's already there. I'm already there. Rope is already rope. Notion of snake is removed. Notion of snake never uh, eliminated the rope. Is it not? At all periods of time, rope is rope. So, at all the periods of time, eternally, let the entire millions of the worlds come and go. The self is Adi Buddha and Adi Kshanta. That's it. वो कभी बदला नहीं, वो हमेशा वही है. And I am that self. And that we can see in us. Is it not? Little common sense we use. The conscious self in us, right from our childhood. The bodies have changed, the minds have changed, the intellects have changed. Accordingly, the debility of the body is changed, emotions of mind changed, intellect's concepts changed. But that fellow in I in me remains same. It has never changed. Neither it is Javan in the youth age, nor it a bacha in the childhood, nor a sayana hoga in the old age. It's continuously the same. Is it not? The Jiva who is identified with Upadhi, he says, मैं छोटा लड़का था बड़ी शरारत करता था, मेरी चोरी पकड़ी जाती है, अब मैं बिल्कुल बूढ़ा हूँ, गोली खाकर पीता हूँ, फिर भी मेरी चोरी पकड़ी जाती है। वही रोशनी, रोशनी में चोरी क्यों करते हैं? अंधकार में ही चोरी होता है। यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट वन? I am that always. Interesting. In Sukha also that I is same. Dukkha also I is same. Sukha Dukkha belong to Mana. Jiva identifies with Mana, with Sukha Dukkha, forgets he is a witnessing pure eternal consciousness. What is sadhana done? Jiva Bhava is dropped, Atma Bhava is gained. How? By detaching from the Sukha Dukkha of the Mana as mine. How? By remaining as Sakshi. So too, the understanding or non-understanding of the intellect, both are known by the conscious self. It is not changing. It's always same. कुछ चीज़ आप समझते हैं, कुछ नहीं समझते। जो दोनों जगह पे द कॉन्शियसनेस सेम, नो, समझना ना समझना बुद्धि की बात है। अब जो कहता है कि मैं समझ पाया हूँ, नहीं पाया हूँ, बिकॉज ही अंडरस्टैंड्स इज एरोगेंट, नॉट अंडरस्टूड फील्स गिल्टी, इट इज ईगो, दैट इज जीवा। But the conscious self is illuminating both the knowledge and ignorance of intellect. So too at the Ahan level, I am respected. That is to Ahankara. I am insulted. Again, that is to Ahankara. I know that my ego is hurt. That's why कहते हैं ना, मेरा ego hurt हुआ. मतलब, you know that you are not ego. You have become conscious of the hurt that happened to the ego because other insulted. Or my ego felt very happy because they recognized my contribution and praised me. But I am who in this case? I am the knower of that. When is the time I am not there and I have changed? No time I was not there. No time I have changed to be something else. I was always conscious illuminator. Shift your attention and identity towards Him. That's called as a pure spiritual sadhana. The wholesale में देखो, in the entire जागृत अवस्था, millions coming and going the experiences. How many millions of years or lives we are going on having जागृत अवस्थाs? अब उन सब का गिनती तो छोड़ो, इसी लाइफ में और इन वन डे, whole day so many things are coming going जागृत अवस्था में. Am I not remaining same? And Swapna coming and going, so many came and went. I was aware of them. I didn't become Swapna Purusha. I was remaining, just watching it. So many times Sushupti happened to me. And these three avasthas are moving like a traffic continuously. And I know now I'm in waking. I know half an hour, 1 hour back, I was in dream. And before that, I know I was in sleep. How do you know all these three? You are separate from them. Is it not? This separate self, which was illuminating all of them, should be given more importance, more value. We are not giving him importance. We are giving importance to the individual entitification of Jagra, Sapna, Sushupti, Purusha, along with the world. That's the samsara. Then give value to him. So much that we are aware of him only, in whose presence these three are coming and going. That is mukti. Mukti is what? Being one with that conscious self in whose presence at the samashti or vesti level, the sthula sukshma karana are appearing and disappearing. Okay? I am the self. In my presence, so many waves of worlds are being created, maintained, and dissolved. When they are created, I am not created. When they are maintained, I am not maintained. When they are destroyed, I am not destroyed. That conscious self in whose presence so many are happening. Among so many happenings in one kalpa, in one period of history, at one place, this Dehendriya Manobodhi Upadhi were manifested. With that, I am identifying and suffering as Jiva. देखो It's very twisting things. There are subtle things. I am the water in all waves. But in one wave, with the shape of that wave, I identified and suffering the limitations of that little one wave. It's only choice, wrong choice. You are a water in all waves. Is it not? In the same way, I am the self in whom the entire universe coming and going. Instead of identifying that, I am identifying the one part of the universe called as one Panchakosha set. That's called moha. That's called ignorance. That's called as the samsara. No, very subtle it is. Very important it is. Think. Okay. Adishanta hyanutpannaha prakrutyaiva sunirvrutaha sarve dharmaha samabhinnaha ajam samyam visharadam. How the beautiful sloka it is. This is how the Atma Anubhava, Atma Vastu is. मुक्त स्थिति कहो, मुक्ति अनुभव कहो, आत्मा अनुभव कहो, आत्म का लक्षण कहो, शब्द कुछ भी यूज करो. These are the indicators of that. First is what? Adi Shanta. Means eternally they are unbound. Eternally they are at peace. Therefore, there is no moksha required for the self. It is already mukta. Moksha is to the jiva from his jiva bhava. By recognizing his self, that he is eternally mukta purusha. But that I am eternally mukta purusha is not allowed to happen in the jiva because he is holding on to the upadis which are binding him. Like if I am a Mukta Purusha, I just sit and meditate on the form of the Lord. Any form I choose, I must meditate. Rama, Krishna. ऐसे आंख बंद करते हैं रूप मेरे सामने आना चाहिए. This is called Mukta Sthiti. But is it happening? Not happening. Why? Because that not happening is called as Bandhanam. Why it is not happening? Because of the thoughts of the things other than that, the worldly, the importance given to them. Then we give example, because, analysis, because we have asanas and all of that. Is it not? When you drop asanas, when you drop the mind's, variety of activities by devaluing it, you will be able to meditate on Lord anytime, no? That way you are mukta. In the same way, mukti is not to the Atma, it is Nitya Mukta. Mukti is to Jiva. As what? That he is not a Jiva, he is an Atma. And why he is not realizing himself as Atma? Why is he bound as Jiva? Because of the importance given to Upadhi. Therefore, the moment the Upadhis are dropped, Jiva is Paramatma. Like the moment the value given to the things of world are dropped, you are able to be in a state of liberation where you can think a form of Lord, you are able to. You are thinking to worship Lord, you are able to do. You are thinking some shloka, you are able to do. You are mukta. How can anybody mind? It's me, my mind. सोचते ही मुझे आंख बंद करते हैं कि वैसे गुरुदेव फॉर्म शुड कम, it should come, that's it. Why is it not coming? That is bandhanam. Because of the variety of thoughts. There's an example here also. So Adi Shantaha means there is no Ashanti because of the bondage, that you'll have to do sadhana to get to the liberation where the bondage of Ashanti is gone. For whom? For the Atma Vastu. Therefore, all the sadhanas which are possible in the Dvaita Jagat, which are told by the Gurus and Karikakaras, for the sadhaka, in which duality is there, that the Purvapaksh is holding and saying there are Dvaitas. Siddhanta says, beta, usme Dvait nahi re Atma Vastu mein. You as a Jiva, as a sadhaka level, for you, we are using your own language, कि ये करो, वो करो, ऐसा करके. इसका अर्थ ये नहीं कि वहाँ द्वैत है. वहाँ द्वैत है, तो then what's the purpose of going there? You are anyway in the Dvaita. See that Adi Buddha, Adi Shanta is what so powerful, Adi Shanta means eternally I am a peaceful, liberated being. I am not bound to do sadhana to be liberated. Liberation from I am bound concept is liberation. That concept will not easily go till upadhis are stronger. Therefore, slowly reduce value importance given to upadhi, learn the art of being witness to them. Then we will be able to say कि I am not upadhi yukta jiva, but I am nirupadhika atma. When when I am atma, not when I gave up the upadhis, then I am already atma. The upadhis made me forget that I am nirupadhika atma. Remember, for the jiva, he is an atma, it is not a gain. It is a realization. That is already that. Upadhis conditioned him or conditioned by the upadhis, that entity is called jivatva in us. That's how, because of conditioning, he appeared so. But actually, either he is said to be the Paramatma only, or we have to say that he has no his own independent existence. Like the reflection of the sun in the body of water, either has to be said as the sun himself, or has to be said that he has no independent existence. He is a conditioned expression in the body of water. Is it not? In the bucket of water. Conditioned expression. And he is the one who suffers when the waters are disturbed, as disturbing. When the water is muddy, the reflection is muddy. Shaking, the reflection is shaking. Water is pure, the reflection is pure. Water is stable, the reflection is stable. All of them are for the pratibimba there, which has none of its real existence. Either it should disappear or it should discover it is the pratibimba only. Sorry, bimba only. In the same way, jiva is never real, it is a bhava. Like the hero in the movie is never real, it's only bhava. He has assumed that role to play to entertain others, not real. That's why every character is fictitious. Any resemblance is by accident. In that first sentence, disclaimer. Understood Adishantaha. It gives in the beginning stage a laughter, a frustration. कि पागल है क्या, मैं कैसे वो हो सकता हूँ, मैं तो ऐसे संसारी फंसा हुआ बंदा हूँ, फंदे में फंसा हुआ बंदा. But later on, this is a reality as well as this is an inspiration. That I am Adi Buddha, I am Adi Shanta. It's a reality. And it is inspiration also. That when I identify with that, these the dirt and dust of identifying the upadhi and suffering limitations of jiva bhava, they're not at all necessary. At one certain age, हर टाउन में मेरा मकान होना चाहिए. Then we buy 10 houses. But as we grow in age of 60, कहीं जा ही नहीं सकते. Then we realize इतनी बेकार है, सब बेच के एक गांव में रह जाते हैं. One place we stay, that's it. We don't need all that. So too, as we mature in detachment with the world and also in the understanding of self, slowly we understand to this level कि Adi Buddha, Adi Shanta is beautiful. I am that. It becomes a means of inspiration and it's the truth. Before that, it is totally forgotten. As a Buddhu and a Shanta, I was struggling for the Shanti and Sukha in a place where they are not available, called as the Jada Jagat, called as continuously changing Jagat. See what is said in Upanishad sentence. After how many hundreds of years we understand the fact of it. What is said in the Upanishad? So simple. In the continuously changing, effortful world, how can there be continuous, effortless happiness, which is sought by us? Eternally changing, वर्ल्ड में, एफर्टफुल वर्ल्ड में चेंजलेस एफर्टलेस सुख कहाँ मिलेगा? दैट्स द मीनिंग ऑफ नास्ति अकृतः कृतेना. Remember, we are not pursuing the things, we are not pursuing the people, we are not pursuing the experiences. We are pursuing Ananda, that also eternal Ananda. We think the people, things, and experiences are the means for that Ananda. And the thing, person, people, and experience being not complete, it stopped giving Ananda. But our seeking Ananda did not stop. That is why we tend again feel to repeat that one or do something else. Is it not? Where will it end? The seeking continues Ananda. First answer is it cannot end in these three things called Vastu, Vyakti, and Jagrad Anubhava because they are not permanent. Then wherever the permanence is there, there only there's a tentative possibility of getting permanence Ananda. Luckily, self is permanent and infinite. Therefore, in that self only the infinite effortless Ananda will be there. All that boils down to this point. I am eternal blissful self. That's it. That is the meaning of Sachidananda. इतना घूम फिरा के इतने जन्म पढ़ाई वढ़ाई करके where do we end up in? I am the pure existence whose nature is consciousness and I being infinite, I am blissful. वो मैं हूँ. You know that Hindi version, वही आत्मा सच्चिदानंद मैं हूँ, चिदानंद रूप शिवोहम. That we sang in emotion 20 years back. But with the study of Upanishads, it is not song, it is not an emotion, it is a experience. And that me giving importance to Dehadupadi became a small jiva, struggling to be happy, and those struggles are never proved, and becoming frustrated and miserable. Even if every struggle I am succeeding to be happy, but the Upadi being limited, it is becoming old and senile, it is going to die. And then I get frightened that I am also going to die. I can't die. In me, so many dehas are continuously are born or dying even now. In that conscious ocean of the self, the waves of worlds only are born and dying. What to talk about small bubbles, ripples of individuals? That goes on. That has no meaning or no purpose. See, आपकी पूंजी जो है आत्मा जब वो इंटैक्ट है उसको पकड़ो और जो आ रहा है जा रहा है उसको आने दो जाने दो. जो इंटैक्ट रियल सेल्फ है उसको हम छोड़ दिए और जो आ रहा है जा रहा है उसको पकड़ कर कह रहे हैं जाओ मत. है कि नहीं? और होल स्ट्रगल इज जो जा रहा है उसको जाओ मत, जो आ रहा है उसको आओ मत. और जो जा रहा है तो रुकेगा नहीं आप जाओ मत कहने से, जो आ रहा है वो रुकेगा नहीं आने से आप कहे तो मत आओ, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट इन योर हैंड्स. But these are all initial stages of a contemplation we are. As we do more and more, then we pierce through the notional level of the mind concepts level of the intellect. Then we reach to the experience level of reality. See, the action level of the body, perception level of senses, notions level of the mind, intellectual idea level of the intellect, concepts. When we transcend them, then we are one with the truth, reality. Otherwise, इसी में भटकते रहेंगे. मैंने देखा, मैंने सोचा, मैंने समझा, मैंने जाना. दिस कॉल्ड ए संसार. फिर मैंने ख्वाहिश की, फिर मैंने काम किया, फिर मैंने उसको पाया. फिर वो चला गया. फिर से मैंने सोचा, मैं समझा, फिर मैं कोशिश किया, मैंने पाया. दिस इज संसार. But I tell you, even the realization of truth is not again for all who have given so much value importance to world. एक स्टेज जिंदगी में आना चाहिए सिवाय परमात्मा को जानने का मुझे कुछ नहीं चाहिए. Even bhakti also in that Ananyata comes, then on the Lord gives darshanam. In the Vedanta also, the concept of the reality is understanding, the meditation to experience that reality, and fulfilling that meditation in experience. Again is possible only to that individual who has risen above his bondage to this world. All is self-created. समझ लेना. So Adishantaha, then Anutpannaha, these we are regularly reading. The selves are never non-existent, that they had to be born. They are unborn. Adishantaha means eternally liberated. There is no Ashanti to in it, because there is nothing else to create Ashanti in that. Adishanta, Anutpanna. Then Prakrutya eva. Add the word Prakrutya like in the earlier sloka also, by nature. Adishanta, Anutpanna. Then because of these two, so Nirvrutaha. Sustu Nirvrutaha. What is Nirvrutatva? The peace eternal or happiness eternal. Effortlessness got Nirvrutaha. Like after the daily course of the house done, from morning 5 up to 11:30, 12, she just sits in the sofa. She is effortless, happy there. Till that time, she was putting so much of effort and she was struggling in her mind of doing so many things. घर साफ करो, बर्तन साफ करो, कपड़े धो लो, नाश्ता बनाओ सबके लिए. But with all that, she is sofa. The experience there of both effortlessness, happiness. She's nirvrata. But Bachari, in 2 minutes only. Immediately again she'll remember, I have to make lunch also for these buffaloes. Again she goes out. Because they ask, we want in buffet today this food. She gives buffet low, therefore buffalo. Then after all that is in again at 3:30. But sometimes she relaxes. Night also. Every fellow sleeps. But she does everything done. That 5 minutes, few minutes of experience nirvritti. But they're all temporary, worldly dependent things. Again. But in this thing of the Atma Anubhava, the nirvritti is permanent. Remember that permanent happiness, effortlessness is nature of the self always. Our real self. Discarding that identity, like Arjuna discarded his identity as a Kshatriya, then got into identity that he is related to them. Then, the moment his identity has become relative to them, then all the emotions accordingly came out in him. How can I kill Bhishma, Drona, and all? Then he went on justifying कि उनको मारकर मैं कूत में खून में दबा हुआ या लगा हुआ ब्रेड मुझे खाना पड़ेगा. I have to eat the bread soaked in their blood. रुधिर प्रदिग्धान भोगान भुंजियो. He says that all imagination, कुछ हुआ ही नहीं. But फिर भी whose language all that is? Arjuna, who is related to them. Misplaced identity. Then when he became Dharma Sthapaka or Kshatriya or the servant of society or the instrument of Lord, all these notions have gone. He killed them. In the same way, in the notion that I am Jiva, I am involving the world with effort. जीव का है सब लॉट और ऐसा पढ़ो उसको. The one who puts effort to get happiness is called jiva. The one who transcended all efforts and receiving an eternal happiness is a liberated person. So Adishanta Anutpannaha Prakrutya eva Sunirvrutaha Sarve Dharma. Self in everyone. Then Samaha Avinnaha. And they are Samana. Your Deha, my Deha may look different in size. But Panchabhutas are there. Same. Your mana, my mana may be different in its emotion, but the stuff mind is same. Your indriyas, my indriyas are same. You may see different thing, I may see different. Finally, the Atma in you and Atma in me is always same. Not only Sama, then Abhinna. Never separated, differentiated from each other. Sama means equal. Equal always presupposes presence of two. Then only you are equating them. Not only they are equal in its their nature, rather it is one only, Abhinna. You just develop this vision of Abhinnatva. How tough it is, but once you develop it, one self alone appearing there as the king, here as the mantri, here as the Sainyadhyaksha, here as a soldier, there as a trader in that country, another place a worker. अभिन्न आत्मा से इतने सारे व्यक्तिकरण एंटरटेनमेंट के लिए हो रहे हैं. In the self, there's no difference. Come to that vision. Will you be able to differentiate the world on the because of jati born? Jati is Brahman, this मनुष्य पशु पक्षी वनस्पति. कोई भी जाति कुल गोत्र द्रव्य ये सब कोई भी मायना रखते हैं क्या? इफ यू डेवलप दैट विजन ऑफ वन, देखो दैट इज हिंदुइज्म. अभिन्नता, भिन्न में एक, वन इन मेनी. Why one is many? Because many are in one always. Many cannot be without one. One only appearing as many. Therefore, that one alone has to be seen in many. Samaha avinnaha. Then ajam, unborn. Samyam, again samatva. Visharadam, vishuddha. Even trace of doubt or ignorance is not there. That's called visharada. Visharada is vishuddha. एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ सेल्फ में किंचित भी अज्ञान या संशय नहीं होगा. If you have अज्ञान of yourself, then immediately you become jiva. Throughout life you will have samshaya only. Samshaya includes not only question or doubts, but desires to pursue. All of that is a part of the big word samshaya. As a jiva, I am always struggling to get sukha here or there. That also is samshaya only. Anyway, this is the mantra. Now, what Bhashyakara says, we'll see this. Adi Shantaha means Nityam eva Shantaha. Always the cells are unperturbed or undisturbed. देखो, the Manashanti achieved when you go to Nidra, or Manashanti is achieved when the desire of the Mana is fulfilled, but not Nitya it is. Is it not the Shanti of the Mana? But this Atma Shanti is what? Nityam. Adi Shantaha, Nityam eva Shantaha. The itself in me is eternally peaceful and happy. In the Upadhi, there is Ashanti because it is influenced by the time, its position is continuously changing. But the self is always Shanti. Shanti is moksha. Remember, Shanti is equal to Sukham. Sukham is equal to moksham. Because Ashanti is equal to Dukkham. Dukkham is equal to Bandham. Why do you say Dukkham, Bandham and Sukham is moksham? Because that from where you want to go away, that's bondage. That where you want to go is called as liberation. How many of us want to go away from Sukha and enter into Dukkha? Perhaps none. One not to say arrogantly, no स्वामी हम दुख चाहते हैं. और उसमें भी सुख ढूंढ रहे हो तुम, इसलिए दुख चाहते हो. But otherwise, we want to get out of dukkha. Why? Because very clear that it is bondage. And we all want to enter into sukha. That itself shows that sukha is a moksha sthiti. The self is always in the ananda swarupa. That's why adi shantaha nityameva shantaha. There is no ashanti at all in the pure self. Second is anutpannaha. Anutpanna means the eternal, it is never born. ऐसे नहीं थी कि वो शांति पहले नहीं थी अभी आई है. As an Adi Shanta, it is Anutpanna. It is not created Shanti. Like the Manashanti is created when the things liked by the mind are presented. But again, the situation changes, the mind again enters into disturbance. So, the Shanti of the man is Utpanna in some condition. Another some condition that Utpatti of the Shanta mana goes, Anutpatti of the Shanti or Utpatti of Ashanti happens. But यहाँ क्या ना अनुत्पन्ना आदि शांति, uncaused eternal peace and happiness is the self. Whenever we use the word happiness or peace or jnanam, knowledge of the self, we tend to understand these words with regard to the upadhi yukta peace or jnanam or anand. थोड़ा समझ लो. The jnanam of the self is not like the intellectual knowledge of the world. Thoughtful knowledge कहते हैं इसको. That is jnanam by itself. That is pure consciousness. So to the anandam in the world is a conditional thing. There, anandam is unconditionalness itself is ananda. The condition of finitude. नहीं है, उसको आनंद कहते हैं वहाँ. Not the ananda of when you consume the shabda sparsha rupa rasagandha. They are not ananda, they are pleasures. They are the bhoga. They are only, maybe you can call them sukha, not ananda. Unconditional infinitude is called ananda there. So jnanam and anandam. But be very careful when they are applied for the self. So adishantahi anutpannaha ajaha. Then cha prakrutya eva. By nature only swabhav se hi adishanta anutpanna hai. Therefore sunirvrutaha. What is sunirvrutaha? Sushtu uparata swabhavaha. That is the literal meaning of nirvruti. Vruti means vru varna. Vruta means vartate iti. Vru vartate. So nirvruti is nirvartakam. Vartakam matlab non-involvement means uparataha. Swabhava. Why uparata swabhava? Because rati or reveling or acting happens again, we said, to the one who is limited conditioned. Where will the ocean go? He will not go. That non-goingness of nature, ocean is called uparata swabhava. Why it doesn't go? Because it is infinite. So the self being infinite is by nature uparata, nirvruta. But river, it is finite, therefore it is always in the vartanam vartate iti. Goes on running, 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 running. The same river when merges in ocean, no more running. So nirvrutaha means uparata swabhavaha, because uparat is for them who are limited. Uparamana means reveling, vartanam. Self is nirvruta swabhava. Because it's so infinite. It has not to do anything or go anywhere. So adishantaha. So then second is anutpannaha, sunirvrutaha. So you can add all the three. What adishanta, sunirvrutta, anutpanna means it is eternally the shanta and nirvruta. Anutpanna is unborn, means eternal it is there. हमेशा आत्मा जो है शांत स्वभाव है, निर्वृत स्वभाव है, उपरत स्वभाव. Then iti artha. Sarve dharmaha means all the selves in all beings. Samaha cha avinnaha cha samavinnaha. That we already explained. By quality they are equal. That is called sama. That is the initial step. Second step is not only they are equal in quality, but they are one only. There is no thing dare to exist in the world which can divide the self and cut it into different shapes and sizes and pieces. ऐसा कोई तलवार या बॉम्ब कुछ पैदा नहीं हुआ जो आत्मा को टुकड़े 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 कर सकता है. एक बेवकूफी को इलाक छोड़कर, इसी को अज्ञान बोलते हैं. And Ajnana never removes the abhinnatva of the Atma. It imposes bhinnata. It imposes Bhinnata. Like you have not divided the earth into seven continents, but we have imposed the differentiation on the earth to be seven continents. Is it not? पृथ्वी ऐसी नहीं बनी है, हम ऐसे इमेजिन, क्योंकि पृथ्वी इज अखंड भूमि. So Bhedanam Chedanam is only imaginary. Okay. Samacha Abhinnahacha. Then Ajam Samyam Visharadam. Ajam is unborn again. Samyam is Sama again. Vishuddham. Visharadam is Vishuddham. Atma Tattvam. Here the Vishuddhi of the Atma Tattva is what? Such Atma are not two. That one is making other Ashuddha. That one without secondness is said by Vishuddha. Okay. Visharadam. Vishuddham is the meaning of the word Visharadam. Visharadam, Vishuddham, Atma Tattvam. Yasmat, therefore, Tasmat, Shanti, देखो, मोक्षो वा न अस्ति कर्तव्य इत्यर्थः. That being by nature liberated and peaceful, nothing else to be done to bring that peace or withdrawalness to the self. It is like that by nature. यस्मात शांत नेचुरली शांति एंड मोक्ष, कुछ करके उसको शांत करा के मोक्ष दिलाने का जरूरत सेल्फ के लिए नहीं है. नो व्हाई दिस बिकम सो क्रूशियल? बिकॉज इफ द सेल्फ इज नॉट सो, देन इट इज मेड बाय एक्शन. when the action stops, again the self reverts back to its earlier station of instead of moksha into the bandhana, into instead of shanti into the ashanti. बिकॉज प्रिंसिपल इज क्या है? जो कर्म से किया जाता है वो कर्म रुकने से अपने वापस पहले स्टेज में जाता है. सो इफ यू क्रिएटेड द मोक्ष एंड शांति विथ सम एफर्ट, व्हेन द एफर्ट्स सीज, द मोक्ष एंड शांति goes away and the ashanti and bandhana comes. Then again you every time you have to create again all that. And it is not necessary also. This is only conceptual. Why? Essentially the self is moksha swarupa. It's also shanta. Luckily वो ऐसे ही है. It is not that आत्मा का शांति और मोक्ष को आप परमानेंट बनाकर फिर उसमें बैठोगे परमानेंटली, ऐसे नहीं है. इट इज ऑलरेडी शांति एंड मोक्ष. आपको उस अनुभव में बैठना है बस. You identify yourself with that Shanta Nitya Mukta Swarup. See, the words Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, Nitya Mukta, they're all Upanishad words, are used by Karika Kara in the form of Adi Buddha, Adi Shanta, or Avinnaha, Nirvrutaha, then Anutpanna. Words he is using his own of that language. But otherwise, what he's saying is what was there in earlier Upanishads. So, therefore, तस्मात् शांति मोक्षो वा न अस्ति कर्तव्य इत्यर्थः. वै नहि नित्य एक स्वभावस्य कृतं किंचित अर्थवत् स्यात्. The self which is eternally of one nature, anything you try to do, you're only wasting those efforts because it cannot change to be otherwise. So, what is the meaning of this? Ki, if the nature of the self is not moksha as well as shanta, if it's not nature, if it is created, then the created thing goes away one day. Secondly, that is already said. Now, second, because the nature of the self is always mukta as well as shanta, nothing done by anyone is disturbing it. Disturbance only at the surface level of the upadhis. And upadhi tadatma jiva feeling those disturbances. That's called you and me now. The self which is eternally Shanta and Mukta, nobody can make it Ashanta and Baddha. That's the meaning. Says, Nahi Nitya Eka Svabhavasya Krutam Kinchid Arthavatha Syat. Anything you try to do the Nitya Eka Svabhavasya, it won't become otherwise. It is your waste of efforts. Therefore, nobody made the Atma as Baddha and Ashanta, that you have to make it Mukta and Shanta. Only you have to recognize that is always Mukta and Shanta. What is realization spirituality? Recognizing. That's it. It has become incognito. You are making recognize. What is there is to be recognized. That is reality. Atma, Anubhuti or Moksha Sthiti or spirituality. You're not creating anything. It's already there. Then, ye yathoktam paramartha tattvam pratipannah te eva akrupanaha loke. Krupanaha eva anye iti ah. Now, to inspire us towards the spiritual sadhana, the people who are not trying to discover the Ekameva Advayam and living only in the world of Dvaita Jagat, full of struggles and bandhana, of those people in this Karika, Karika Kara is doing the Ninda. So in this sloka, the Avidvat Ninda happens. In the next one, the Vidvat Stuti happens. Only to tell us that don't continue to be Avidwan and become a Vidwan now. By doing those studies and sadhanas which make us realize the already existing Ekameva Dvayam Brahmaneha Nanasti Kinchana Sthit. The one who pursues that and reaches that is called as Mahanubhavaha. Maha Teilohe Mahagnanaha Tache Lokonagahate. That's the word used in the next. Vaisharabhind ho gaya. Next jnana तेल हो गया महाज्ञाना. They are the Mahagnanaha. In this sloka, they are the Krupanaha. Don't try to be Krupana now. Those who live in Dvaita, Krupana. Those who discovered Advaita, Mahagnana. That's a lokaha na gahate. People can't fathom his subtlety. They don't even understand what he's doing. like कोई साधु ज्ञानी बैठकर ध्यान में है 4 घंटे, लोग सोचते हैं ऐसे बैठे टाइम वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, बेकार कर रहे हैं, बैठे बैठे सो रहा है. These people cannot fathom in what type of deep meditation contemplation is there. Like आपके घर के लोग, उनको समझ नहीं आता कि आप क्या सुन रहे हो, क्या समझ रहे हो. The Vedanta of Mandukya Upanishad, which is so sublime, you're trying to grasp, is a tremendous job. This trying to understand the Upanishad mantra with Bhashya is the most toughest job than having continuous deliberations to avoid the war between Russia and Ukraine, which is 50 days crossed now. But the others at home don't understand. Okay. They not only try to understand, not only they don't understand, but they laugh it off कि यार डेले ऐसे बैठते हैं घंटा पता नहीं क्या बोलते हो स्वामी क्या कहते हो सुनते हैं. That's how they talk, the others. हाँ उनको वही काम है बैठते हैं ऐसे they do it. They don't know how we are struggling to understand every word, its meaning, its sadhana, its implication. In the same way, of that Mahagnani's Anubhava, the ordinary people never understood. So try to be that rather than continuing to be Krupana. So who is Krupana? Who is caught up in the Dvaita. Yeah. Now he says, Vaisharadyantu Vainasti Vede Vicharatam Sada Veda Nimnaha Pratakvadaha Tasmat Te Krupana Smrutaha Aje Samyetu Ekechit Bhavishyanti Sunishchidaha Tehi Loke Mahagnanaha Tacha Loko Nagahate Aje Swajam Asankrantam Dharme Shujnanam Ishyade Yato Nakramate Jnanam Asangam Tena Kirtitam Anumatrepi Vaidharmye Jayamane Avipashchidaha असंगता सदा नास्ति किमुतावरणच्युतेः अलब्धावरणाः सर्वे धर्माः प्रकृतिनिर्मलाः आदौ बुद्धास्तथा मुक्ताः बुध्यन्ते इति नायकाः क्रमतेन हि बुद्धस्य ज्ञानं धर्मेषु तायिनः सर्वे धर्मास्तथा ज्ञानं नैतद्बुद्धेन भाषितं दुर्धर्षमतिगम्भीरम् अजं साम्यं विशारदं उद्वापदम् अनानात्वं नमस्कुर्मो यथा बलम् इति श्रीमाण्डुक्योपनिषत्. Om 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 Om. Let's be trying to be in the Sattva-guna, apply that Sattva-guna and trying to grasp the subtleties that are indicated in the Vedanta. And bringing the mind to Sattva Guna is a job of Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Without that, you can't do this. Understand the importance of all sadhanas and do what is required, which helps, and then enter into Vedanta Vicharana. Thank you, Sarvam. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha Paramarishibhyo Parabrahmane Shrutimatre Manduka Gaudapadacharya Varyaya Adya Shankaradgurave Asmadgurubhyo Namaha Tatsat Brahmarpणमस्तु. Let us study for some time our Viduraniti.